Welcome to this session, which is called Coaching for ICT Integration. My name is Anne Fox, and you may know me from the Absolutely Intercultural podcast. But what do I do in real life? I'm a teacher trainer helping teachers to integrate ICT into their everyday teaching, and I also work a lot in international projects which usually have something to do with language teaching, integration of ICT, or intercultural communication. The project I'm going to talk to you about today was called Understand IT, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I think we'll achieve in this short session. So in this session, what I want to do is I want to explain why coaching is an effective professional development tool. And when you find out that the statistic for implementation of professional development is about 20%, that means that after a traditional professional development event, only 20% of the teachers actually implement anything from the event, then you'll see why we're trying to look for another solution. The course that we were working on is called the Vita course, and the aim of the Vita course is to help to make you an ICT integration coach. We do that by helping you with your skills in coaching, but also improving your skills in using ICT. Now, what I would like to do is I would like in this session for you to use some of these tools. And by the end of the session, you will have decided on your first SMART goal, and you'll find out what that means in a moment. But first, I'm going to show this slide to answer the question, why are we trying to advocate ICT integration in the classroom? There are many of you perhaps who are saying, well, why do I need this slide? But I still get asked the question. So here are some reasons. First of all, the digital tools would enable you to invite external experts. This makes the schoolwork much more realistic and much more authentic. Of course, the internet is a vast repository of information, so that's also one reason for involving ICT. That's the classic one. But you can also use ICT more proactively to document your classes, both to help the learners who were there so that they can review what went on, and also to help those who weren't there. One of the most powerful reasons for using ICT is that you can provide an authentic audience for student work. Something as simple as a blog, something as simple as asking the parents to have a look at the blog is really very motivating. But one of the main reasons is that in the adult world, you cannot avoid ICT, and so why would you want to avoid it in school? And finally, one is a heartfelt reason for me, living in the countryside, that ICT enables you to bring some city facilities into rural areas. So just in case anybody is in doubt about why this is a good thing, I hope that these are good enough reasons. But even if you've decided to implement ICT, there are still some barriers. So I just want to go through some of these barriers. The diagram shows you an ideal classroom with the learner at the center. And this diagram I have found to be quite threatening to some teachers because they view the classroom with the teacher in the center. So there are some barriers, both psychological, practical and technical. So for example, there are still some areas where the lack of equipment or bandwidth is a problem, and I've experienced that in the project network which I'm involved with. Also, teachers feel often that they lack expertise or they lack experience, and that's something that I hear quite commonly. And finally, fear of exposure to the so-called digital natives. This is an expression which has been discredited, but still many teachers go round with the thought that their students are cleverer than them and that this is a problem. So these are some barriers which you may find are expressed. So let's take a good look at how we try to make you into a better ICT integration coach. What we say in the Vita course is that we're going to take you on an intercultural journey, an intercultural learning journey. We start at the top of the circle and we look at how we do things around here, that is, what happens in your classroom, and then we take a look at our values and beliefs about teaching. So there I'd refer you back to that diagram I showed you earlier with the learner at the center. It's not all teachers who can live with that model. And then preparing for the journey is talking about how we're going to document the course. So some participants will be starting an e-portfolio, others will simply be writing a blog. We need to look also at culture clashes. There are many examples of those. For example, what can you put on Facebook, for example? How can you use a mobile phone in your classroom? What's allowed, what's not allowed, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. The Speaking with the Natives section is about looking at good examples of best practice, and in the Vita course we invite people in to our courses so that the participants can have a good conversation about what these people are doing. Then we look at lessons which integrate ICTs, and that's trying their dishes and customs. And cooking one of the dishes, that's about preparing a lesson and actually trying it out and seeing what went well, what went badly, and so on. And then the final part, telling the folks back home, that's the coaching part. That's where you start to spread your practice around your institution. So that's the model that we use in the Vita course. So now we're going to find out more about coaching and how it works, and we're going to do this in a practical way because you're going to be using some digital tools which teachers find useful with their learners. And in the SlideBoom version of this talk, you'll be able to click on the links directly on the screen. But if you're watching a video, then I would advise you to use the document which I've prepared with all the links that you need to use in order to do these activities. So let's start. We'll start by taking a look at an article. And the article is to be found here if we click on this link, and what I've done is I've put it in a tool called Bounce, which lets us put comments on the article. So for example, there's a comment here and there's a comment here. So this is where the link brings me. It brings me to a blog post that's been captured in this tool called Bounce app. And as I read the blog post and I scroll down, there may be certain things which I find interesting, and what I can do is I can click and drag and then make a note here of what I'm finding interesting, click OK, and that means that the web page is annotated. So what did I get out of this article? Well, these are the comments that I wanted to make. It says that coaching should be voluntary on both sides, and this could be a problem because people expect to be paid when they do work normally. Coaching is personalized and individualized, which means that it's likely to result in more than the 20% take-up of professional development, which I noted earlier. Coaching is built on existing and ongoing relationships, so that means that you can't just fly into a new environment and be a coach. You have to establish a relationship with the people that you are going to coach. And finally, that coaching can be two-way, which means that one day you can be the coach and maybe the next day your colleague will be the coach. So those are the things that I got from the article, and I'll be interested to see the annotations that you've made on the article. Now let's find out a bit more about the coaching process, what we're actually trying to do. So this next activity, I would like you to watch a YouTube video which is 8 minutes long, and you're going to make some comments in a Google Doc. The link is here, and because it's 8 minutes, that's quite a long video, and to help us find our way a little better, I'm going to recommend that you use something called deep links. And deep links are explained in the Google Doc, which you will find if you follow the link. But basically that means that you're adding something here to the end of the YouTube URL, which tells you where to start the video. So I've made two examples here. So here is a deep link that starts 35 seconds into the video, because here the man who made the video, Bob, refers to the coachee as a client, but of course in our case the client would be a teacher. I've also made another link here at 1 minute and 7 seconds where Bob talks in more depth about defining the problem and the goal. And I'm saying here that it's very important that our goals as teachers should be pedagogical goals rather than saying that you want to use a specific tool. So I'll be interested to see what you come up with, and I'll be looking at the Google Doc to see what additional comments have come in. Now, next I'm going to be taking you to the documentation of an actual coaching session that I held with a teacher who was interested in using a tool called Wall Wisher. Now, I'm not recommending that coaching should be noted down in this way, but because my coachee was interested in Wall Wisher, I thought it would be interesting to use Wall Wisher to document the coaching session. So by now in Bob's video you've met the different elements of the coaching session under the GROW model, and so you'll probably be able to recognize the order in which we went through things in this coaching session. So I've locked this Wall Wisher so that it doesn't change, but you could also use Wall Wisher to start making a note of the types of goals that you may have for your own classroom. So you'll have gathered by now that one of the most important parts of the coaching process is to be able to recognize what your goal is. And coaches usually talk in terms of what are called SMART goals. So that's what we'll have a look at next. Now then, you've got a link to this article so that you can see the end of it, but basically you can see that a SMART goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and timely. So nothing vague like I'm going to use blogs, but something a bit more specific. I'm going to use individual blogs with class 4C for XYZ project, and also giving a date. So now you know what SMART goals are and how they're used in coaching. You've seen some examples used by teachers, and I hope that you will also have seen some examples suggested by your conference colleagues. Perhaps now is a good time to start a reflective journal, and that could be done in a blog. The easiest blog that I've found to start is Posterous. All you need to do in order to start your Posterous blog is to send an email to post@posterous.com. The title of your email becomes the title of your first blog post, and the content of your email becomes the content of your first blog post too. Any hot links that you include will automatically be highlighted, and any attachments that you include will be nicely embedded. So that means that you could add image, audio or video files, and they will show up nicely in your blog. So now you know what the course looks like, and you can see how the Vita course works. You learn the content through using the tools. So this puts you in a better position to then advise and coach your colleagues in the use of ICT in their everyday practice. You can find out more about the full-length Vita course at this WizIQ link. So here's a little overview of the tools that you've been introduced to in this short session. The Scoop It will be the links that I show you in a minute. And I just want to thank you for listening and hope that you have enjoyed your first steps on your learning journey to integrate ICT in your everyday practice. So remember that if you want more information about the course and how we developed it, you can always visit the Understand It website. And I've collated all the web links onto a Scoop It page so that you can follow up on anything which you thought was interesting. And so if you want to get in touch, then here are a few links which I could suggest in order to keep in contact. Thanks very much for listening.